Okay, as you can see, I'm in the office versus out in the shop, and that shouldn't be a surprise to you given the last episode I finished up the trailer. So, as promised, this short episode will be to show you the cost comparison and the actual breakdown. Before I do that, I do want to mention to some of you that the costs of trailers, like many things that we're all experiencing, has went through the roof, cost of steel being part of it. So when you see the costs here, some of you might be thinking, what did I do? Go to the most expensive dealership there is? And that isn't the case. You're probably basing it, maybe you own a trailer that you bought 3 or 4 years ago, and the price is like twice what you paid for. That's unfortunately the world we live in right now. So a 7 or 8 thousand pound car trailer that you could bought 3 or 4 years ago for maybe $3,500, those days are gone. So anyway, don't be too alarmed when you see what the costs are. So I did today. I went to the one of the local dealers. They're not a specific brand. They carry at least I think 4 or 5, maybe 6 different brands of trailers, all different types: dump trailers, car trailers, equipment trailers. Um, yeah, they have probably 50 or 60 trailers on their lot of every kind of configuration imaginable. So I was fortunate that they did have a trailer on their lot that was very, very close to what I built. One of the major differences, however, was that it was a 14,000 pound capacity, two 7,000 pound axles versus the two 5,200 pound axles that I use. So obviously there's a cost impact to that. So I asked the salesman basically what the cost difference of the two was, and if I had ordered a trailer today one way or the other, it made a difference of, he said, about $800. So when I show you my spreadsheet a little bit later here, that's factored into that cost difference. So it's as close as I can get to apples. So I guess without further ado, I'll go ahead and throw a picture of the trailer that I found up on the screen, and that'll give you a feel for visually yourself. You can see the difference, other than it's obviously black, but everybody paints their trailers black. That's the first thing you're going to notice. It maybe looks shorter, but that's because of the angle of the photo I took. It's a 20-foot trailer, same as mine, same width. You'll notice there at the back it does have two folding ramps that do the same as mine. It extends the trailer deck. They look to be about the same width as the ramps that I built. The fenders are moving from the back to the front. The fenders are a diamond plate fender. They are not a drive-over fender. They just happen to be formed out of diamond plate, so they look a little bit different. But other than that, they serve the same function. It doesn't have any corner steps in front of the fenders or the back like mine does, but it does. They're moving to the front. On the left side, you can see that it does have rub rails and stake pockets. I do kind of like they incorporated an extra piece of pipe there in between the stake pockets. So if you're going to put a chain or something through there, that reinforces that. So I kind of like the fact that they did that. It does have a spare tire, which mine will have at some point. My cost roll up, though, does not include the cost for a spare tire. So when we get to the final numbers, just kind of keep in the back of your mind, I'll probably mention it again if I remember to, that a spare tire and wheels is about another $200. So the delta between the two costs is going to be roughly $200. It does have a heavier duty tongue jack. It's a landing gear style with a single landing gear. So those are a little bit more expensive. So what I did is, even it does not have stabilizer jacks in the rear, so I kept that cost the same, and that way the rear stabilizer jacks that I used, they'll help offset the cost of the more expensive tongue jack in the front. It has the exact same breakaway battery box that I have, the same breakaway switch, so it's frankly as close to what I built as you're probably going to find at a trailer lot. It does have that bar, double bar in the front, so if I guess it prevents you from running something off the front of the trailer, though the jack would accomplish that same thing. So I'm really not sure the point of having those bars up front is. So that gives you an idea of basically what I'm comparing to. So the next thing I'll throw up on the screen here is they do put the price on pretty much all of their trailers on a tag on the right on the tongue, so you don't have to constantly be going in and out of the store asking for what a price is. You can just wander out in their lot. So that price tag there, if you the first thing to kind of look at is the stock number, and that designates the width, the length, and then the axle rating. So you can see that it's a 7 foot wide. That's in between the fenders, 20 foot long, and a 14K rating. Looks like they have a cash price. I think this was also a 2022 model, because when I was asking the salesman some questions, he talked about to order basically the same type of trailer that I built today would be, he threw a number out there like 12 grand, which I find that to be awfully high. I know there's some inflation, but so I could have really made the difference substantial, or the delta substantial, but I decided to go with what I could literally buy, which is this trailer. So well, I'm using that regular $8,830 price. Before I go to the spreadsheet, one thing to keep in mind is the state that I live in, Washington. We have pretty steep sales tax. So all of the parts and pieces that I purchased, those of course had sales tax on it. So I've paid all the sales tax basically already for my trailer. On a purchased trailer like this, they levy that sales tax at the time of sale. On a licensed vehicle, it's actually 9.2%. So you'll see that in the spreadsheet. There's 9.2% on top of that 8,830. So speaking of the spreadsheet, I'll throw that up on the screen now. So it's pretty straightforward. All of the items there on the left, those are all of the items that I purchased to build the trailer that I had. They're in order of expense. The top two items, they're the 2023 and the 1700. Those are the two big ticket items. The first one is the kit, which came with all the things I listed in one episode, and then the initial steel order. And then you can kind of see down there, I just work my way down. The lumber I was able to find on Marketplace for a pretty good price. The additional jacks, the deck screws. I did have to buy, as I mentioned, 3 brand new 2x6s. It's a little scary that those 3 2x6s are almost as much money as the 11 2x6s that I found used. Stake pockets, a few extra pieces of steel I had to buy. Miscellaneous hardware, I just threw that in there. That accounts for any nuts and bolts that I already had in my shop. The battery, the J boxes. So anyway, license plates, those are the LED license plate lights, tubing plugs, deck paint, and the ton box. That deck paint, actually, I put in the amount that it was. I did not. I should have added tax. I'll change that here in a second, because it would have been right at about 118 for the deck paint with tax. $18 isn't going to make a big difference one way or the other. So that gives it a grand total of $5174.78 to build the trailer. There's 2 more columns here I thought you might be interested in. The next one, the kind of green highlighted one there, is I'll call it a bare bones. If I would have built the trailer with the kit, the initial steel, and the bare minimum things it takes to build it the way it was, minus the battery, minus the J boxes, the extra wiring, some of those extras that I did. If I excluded all of those, I could have built it for about $4,650. And then the last column there is basically what it would have taken to match the trailer at the trailer sales price. So again, it was minus most of those extras there that are highlighted: the battery hold down, the special safety chain anchors, tubing plugs, things like that. I mentioned it didn't have rear jacks, but I did include the rear jack in that column, because that, as I mentioned, that helps offset the cost of that more expensive tongue jack they use. So that $108.22 is in that column. So as you can see there, that gives it a $4,820 price tag if I would have built it to match basically what was at the dealership or at the trailer sales. So if we roll down there, there's their purchase price of $8,830. The $800 deduct or less for the 10.4K axles versus 14K. Actually, I've got them listed there as 10.2. I'll change that to 10.4. So that brings it to 8,030. Subtotal with tax of 738. That brings the grand total of purchasing a similar trailer to $8,768. So there's two boxes there left, or two cells left. The savings for an as-built. So basically, I saved almost $3,600 minus that $200 spare tires difference. So about $3,400 savings as built. And then if I built it as close as I could have to the one at the dealership, it was almost $4,000 minus the 200, so somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,750 or so. So I knew there would be some savings, of course, but I was surprised that it was that much. So in the case of this build it or buy it episode, that's the intent of this. It clearly was cheaper to build it versus buying it. Some of you might say, well, what about your labor? That's going to add cost to it, and I guess it depends on if it's a labor of love or if you're doing it as something you don't want to do. I enjoy doing fabrication and working on my shop, so I don't count my labor towards these kinds of projects. Otherwise, it would obviously make a difference. So that kind of gives you the, as promised, the cost wrap up between buying one or building a trailer. This by no means will be the end of the channel. I've got a number of ideas that I'm thinking about doing next. I need a gantry crane for in the shop, so I've kind of got some plans drawn up for probably a 1,000 or a 1 ton, maybe ton and a half gantry crane. I've also I have a 20-ton hydraulic press, but it's narrower than I like, and it doesn't have some features that I like to have. So I've also drew up some plans for a 20-ton hydraulic press that's a little bit wider than the one I have. Also, I've got a blank skid steer quick detach plate that I'm going to build into a set of forks. I have a set of forks that clamp into my tractor bucket, but they're not the most convenient to use, so I'm going to build those for a quick detach affair. And let's see, there was one more item that I was kind of thinking about the other day. Gantry crane. Oh, some of you may have noticed that second gen Dodge Cummins in one of the videos, and I think I talked about it a little bit. I'm planning on pulling the normal bed off of that and building a flatbed, kind of turning into a towing truck for pulling trailers and things. So a flatbed with a gooseneck hitch and then a regular receiver hitch in the back and some toolboxes and stuff. So that'll be a several episode build, obviously. So anyway, those are kind of on the docket. I'm kind of leaning towards the hydraulic press will be the next build. But if there's anything you guys would like to see me build, and if it's something that I would find useful in my shop, I'll consider it if you want to put that in the comments. And I guess before I wrap it up here, the last item was that some of you did comment on what year, make, and model you think my snowplow is, and some of you were very close on the year, but nobody's gotten the make or the model correct yet. So you can certainly give that another go if you want. And I think that'll wrap it up for the cost, and stick around for future episodes, and thank you for watching.